Hello everybody, welcome to this video from the Bridge End Political Owl. I'm doing this video today because there was something I spoke about yesterday and there's been more information on this from BBC News today. I'd just like to say another quick thank you to Ellie Richards, who did the live stream with me yesterday for part of it, and thank you to everybody who's viewed so far. Anyway, what we're going to get into is today. I'm going to get the screen up. There's been a report from BBC News that the next step in the process for the change of the number of MSs in the Senedd from 60 to 96 has progressed forward, which includes the voting system as well. Now, we're going to explain bit by bit as we go along, but let's bring up the article first. So I'll get to sharing my screen. I need Ian Spiller here for this one. Right, here we go. Right, sharing my screen now. This is the report that's come up today. World Politics plans to increase the Senedd to 96 members, move closer. Now, I'm going to go through population statistics with you today, and I'm also going to go through the representation statistics comparing Senedd members to MPs and how much each represent on their area. Anyway, let's read this article. We'll go through this article together. Plans to increase the number of Senedd members from 60 to 96 have moved a step closer. A Senedd committee backed the expansion proposed by Labour and Plaid Cymru, saying the case for change was urgent. The Committee on Senedd Reform also agreed with plans to introduce gender quotas in time for the 2026 election. Now, that's 4 years away. The Welsh Tories in the Senedd said the conclusions were no surprise and are out of touch. Senior Conservatives, including Welsh Secretary Simon Hart, called for any Senedd expansion plans to be put to a referendum. Which is fair enough, that's what we should do. It's the people who should decide whether these plans should be increased, because this initial plan for increasing from 60 to 96 was not announced till after the recent county borough elections across Wales, and they weren't said last year during the campaigns for the Senedd, so people haven't had a chance to decide on this, and it should be up to people within Wales to decide what they want. Do they want 60 members or do they want 96? Make your arguments, parties. Make your pleas to the people of Wales. Let them choose. Anyway, let's carry on. Earlier this month, Labour and Plaid Cymru announced plans to increase the number of MSs as part of their cooperation agreement in the Senedd. Under these plans, Wales would be divided into 16 constituencies, with 6 MSs elected from every constituency under the dohont of proportional representation currently used to elect Senedd members, regional members. Now, what that means is during the election you get people standing for elections, like let's take Bridge End for example. We had certain members. We had Huranka Davis and whoever was going up against him, and Huranka Davis won, and then it went back under the proportional system where you've got the closed system. These constituency MSs like I believe Tom Gifford and maybe Luke Fletcher as well, depending on the number of the votes the party gets, it moves down and they get the thing. So it's not the person who you've actually voted for overall, it's the party that get the thing, but they decide who was next in their line to take that seat. But it gets a bit different to that from what's going to happen. So what would happen under these plans of the voting system? We do away with actually voting for somebody overall. say voting for Sarah Murphy or Hugh Davis or any individual person, but you'd be voting on a party system where you're voting for parties, and then the person who's top of that list, which is decided by the parties themselves in their order of list, they'll get that seat. So it's the parties who will decide who actually represents you, not you. You just decide what parties represent you. All political parties were invited to pass on their ideas to the committee, which has been asked to explore the idea of reforming the Senedd. Our report sets out a plan for a strengthened parliament which will provide a stronger voice for the people of Wales, the committee chairs Hugh Davis has said. No, it doesn't. It just gives Labour better power, more chance of having more members, and we'll go through the statistics later because that doesn't ring true. Today's Senedd is very different to the institution that was established over 20 years ago. It can now make laws and set Welsh taxes, issues which affect the lives of every single person in Wales. That's true. It does. And Senedd members are taking on more and more work all the time. And but that's what they stood up for, is to represent Wales, and they've argued for having more laws passed down and more things, so get on with the work. With greater power must come greater accountability. Well, we've seen that the accountability doesn't seem to happen to people in Wales, to elected members at many levels. It's very rare that accountability does happen. Or we need a parliament that can effectively scrutinise the decisions taken by Welsh Government on behalf of the public it serves. The current system doesn't allow that to be done as well as it should be. Well, yes, it is. You should. The fact is, it's you're arguing against the scrutiny of your own. You're arguing that your party should be scrutinised, which is correct. If this is Hugh Davis' vote, yes, it is correct. Your party should be scrutinised more. You've done a lot of good things. You've done a lot of really bad things that have taken money out of people's pockets in Wales. Conservative shadow minister for the constitution, Darren Miller, said the content and the report from the committee were of no surprise. They simply regurgitate the instructions given by Labour implied members of the committee by the party leaders, he said. The people of Wales have not had their say on these detailed proposals. They have not endorsed a voting system which serves the direct accountability to their elected representatives and gives political parties more power to impose the candidates on local people. This is what I'm saying. It gives them to decide who they want to represent you, not who you want to represent you. And nor have they given the green light to a system which promotes one aspect of diversity over another. Yeah, gender quotas. Yeah, okay, but as I was saying to Councillor Richards yesterday, it's okay having these quotas and getting people in. We need that. We need more women. We need younger people. We need people with disabilities. We need ethnic minorities. We need people from all over that. But more harm is going to be done by those parties deciding who they're putting in there. It needs to be the right person to represent these people. More harm could be done by not having somebody in there rather than having the wrong person in there. More harm could be done by having the wrong person in there by not having somebody in there. You need to find the right people, and people decide who those right people are. The people who represent them, the people who put their voices forward. And like a few people in Bridgend, like the independent candidates, Ellie Richards' classic example, she didn't go on a party message, she went on a personal message which was for her constituents in her area, and that's what these people should be doing, not going on what a party wants. So we go back to this. The press release from the Welsh Conservatives and Senedd did not repeat the call originally made by Simon Hart for referendum on plans. I think we should. I think we need a petition done up, as many people as we can to sign it, to call for the Senedd to have a referendum on, if not the increase of MSs, but the change to the voting system. A few years ago, we had a national vote on the change of first past the post system. That was it. People should decide how votes are conducted in the UK, whether it's first past the post, whether it's proportional representation, whether it's a closed system, or whether even it's a dictatorship system like they have in China, where you don't vote for the national members, you vote for local members, and then they decide who's going to be in the national parliaments. Welsh Labour and Plaid Cymru announced their plans for the expansion ahead of the conclusion of the committee's work. It led to the reorganisation of its Conservative member. It led to the resignation of its Conservative member, Darren Miller. He was the representative on the Senedd committee, and Welsh Labour and Plaid Cymru announced this on the 10th of May. 10th of May, a few days after the last local elections, because they know they'd have got really trounced in the local elections if this is what they announced. The change to the voting system, the change to the number of MSs, it would have had a big effect locally for them. It's a shame, and it's a shame that Plaid Cymru are going along with this. Yes, they want more members, but the voting system isn't their idea. That's Welsh Labour's idea, and why Plaid Cymru are going along with that, I don't know. Mr Miller accused the two parties of having undermined the committee's work. Speaking to BBC Wales, Mr Anchor Davis said those plans set out by Labour and Plaid Cymru don't tie our hands at all, but had been helpful to know where the parties stood. But yet, your committees have recommended exactly what they've asked for, Labour and Plaid Cymru. Plaid Cymru wanted the members increased, and I don't know who came up with the figure of 96, nearly doubling the amount of MSs, but whoever came up with that. But it was Labour who've come up with this closed voting system, and I'll explain more on that later. The committee's report also acknowledges that Plaid Cymru and Liberal Democrat representatives will express reservations about the proposed electoral system to be used. Okay, you may have noted it, you may have acknowledged it, but you've still gone ahead and recommended what Labour have said, what your own party have said, Mr Anchor Davis, chair of that committee. Jane Dodds, Welsh Liberal Democrat leader, said she strongly supported the expansion of 96 members, but a single transferable vote STV would be fairer, less complicated, and give voters more choice. It's up to debate which system is better, but a closed system where you don't get to choose your person representing you is not a great system. Plaid Cymru's Rhys Abowen said STV was the party's policy, but he said Plaid was delighted that the majority of its priorities had been delivered. Yeah, you get what you wanted at the sacrifice of other people, the voting public. Under single transferable vote, candidates can be individually ranked by preference. The committee has backed a closed list system where voters can only vote for the party they want to support. It's clearly there, where voters can only vote for the party they want to support. That will completely obliterate any chance of any independent ever being elected in the Senedd. It's an insurmountable, it's a very difficult process even now for an independent person, somebody who cares about their area and the area they want to do, ever making it in Parliament. This would just obliterate it completely, and there's no point ever an independent ever standing, which is taking away democracy. That is not democracy where you've only got parties to vote for. You need independence, you need a cross-section of everything having an equal chance of being elected. Put everything on a level playing field. Make party members from have to pay for their own elections, not cover it by the parties. Make everything fairer somehow. However, according to Mr Anchor Davis, the committee's final report and recommendations were all signed off by all current members. This is of the committee, and remember, Conservatives are on the committee because Darren Miller resign from that committee. So yeah, how is that committee weighted? It has been estimated that adding an additional 30 MSs would cost around £12 million per year. I got that wrong yesterday. I said 20 million. I'd seen reports saying 20 million. But it's not 30 MSs, it's 36 MSs that they're looking to add. And £12 million per year was before the inflation rise, before everything else that's gone on. So you can guarantee I'm probably going to be closer to 20 million in my time, in my guesses. That's not including pay rises that are going to happen over the next few years for MSs, pay rises for the workers in the offices, the cost of the offices and the increase in expenses that may happen. On that basis, Welsh Conservatives have long opposed Senedd expansion, believing other issues should be given priority, and they should. But let people decide what they want to do. Let the public decide. Members within the party also call for any expansion plans to be put to a public vote. Correct. Brilliant. Mr. Rankin Davis described the call as an interesting gambit that doesn't hold water at all. That's a quote when you realise you're trying to make light of what they want, put it to the public. It doesn't hold water at all. It does hold water. You're just worried that if you put that vote to the public, changing the voting system would completely wreck your plans to hold power and to grab more power over the next God knows how many years, until by some miracle another party gets in totally and changes it all. It does hold water, Mr. Rank Davis, putting it to the vote of the public, because the public here, you serve them, not we serve you. You serve them. So any changes like this should be made by the public, the choice of the public, not you as a Senedd member. So wind your neck in. For any changes to come into force, they would need to be approved by 2/3 of the current Senedd members, which they currently have with the joint partnership between Labour and Plaid Cymru. I do hope there are Plaid Cymru's members out there that talk to the constituents and find out what their constituents want. I'm hoping Labour members do it, but it's very rare that they do go with what their constituents want. Madeline Moon was a big thing of that, where Bridgen voted for Brexit, whether you agreed with it or not, but she stated that she would never vote for Brexit in any capacity, and so she wasn't representing the people. If you're a Senedd member, whether it's Bridgen, whether it's anywhere else in Wales, please talk to your constituents about this. Find out what they want, even if it means delaying this by 6 months to a year, so that you can get a proper account of what your constituents actually want. Explain this properly to them. And I call anybody who sees this video, please share it with everyone as far and wide as you can, even Senedd members. Share it with your Senedd member and say, let's talk to the public, find out what we want. Ask us what we want, not decide for us what we want. Anyway, between Mr. Rankin called on the Welsh Government to put these changes into law next summer. So they're trying to rush and put this through in the hope that it can be passed by 2024 to allow adequate preparations for 2026 election. Yeah, they're trying to rush this through. They can get the adequate preparations done within a year. So really, 2025 is the last day. It should be there. But for the 2026 elections, that's 4 years away now, and they're trying to rush this through. Something like this should never be rushed through, never be pushed at the expense. His committee report is expected to be debated in the Senedd in the next fortnight. So this is getting very pushed through. It was only announced on the 10th of May. The committee has had it probably since then. We're less than a month later, 20 days later, the committee's had it decided what we agree with what Labour and Plaid Cymru want. this is it, and then 2 weeks they're gonna debate it in the Senedd, probably with a vote before the end of July, before the August recess. How that is rushing something through, something as important and something as big as this. Please, people, tell them to stop. Okay, it's now I've done a little bit of research today on population statistics and salaries and that, so I'm gonna start sharing this, and we're going to go population statistics, and this is going to focus on the increase of members. Right, find the right one. Share. Right, I'm bringing up now the current population of Wales. Current population of Wales is 3.136 million. That works out to 52,266 per member of the Senedd under the 60 member rule at the moment, which you think, well, that's pretty fair, that sounds pretty fair. Now we're going to go on to UK population stats. The UK population stats, 67.22 million people. So people to the number of MPs is 103,415. So Senedd members feel they need more, and MPs, they're going to reduce the number of them in Wales. They're looking to reduce the number of MPs anyway, so that figure will only go up. How many one MP represents? 103,000 people compared to the Senedd current of 52,000, so it's less than half. And yet they want more members because they can't keep up with the work. So by that logic, by their logic in the Senedd, we need to increase the number of MPs a lot more. Okay. Representation stats, right? So the Senedd increased to 96, so that would bring it down to 32,666 people per Senedd member. Representation difference between MPs and MSs is, under that statistic, would be 70,334 people. So nearly, roughly about half the population of Bridgend. So the Senedd members, these members want to decrease the amount of work they do while continuing to get the same amount of money, have their own thing. Right, so we're going to move on to the money side of it now. This is the salaries for the MSs in the breakdown of each area. So you've got the First Minister on £148,575 per year. And then you've got ministers, and then General Counsel, Deputy Ministers, Presiding Officer, Deputy. But each member of the Senedd, right at the bottom here, gets £67,649. This, now I will say, this isn't including any expenses for offices or meals or time or travel or whatever. This is just the base salary. Now we're going to bring in two statistics. We're going to bring in the Prime Minister's salary and an MP salary. Now, considering member of the Senedd earns 67,000 and they represent less than half the population of what a UK MP does. Right, this is the Prime Minister's salary, which is UK 161,866. I will say he didn't claim, Boris Johnson didn't claim that much. He claimed 157,000 in that point. But how close is that with the First Minister? How close is that salary when the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister of 60 odd million people and First Minister is the First Minister of 3 million? I will say that Nicola Sturgeon actually gets more than both up in Scotland. Her salary is more than both, but the pay for a member of the MSP is actually less than a member of the Senedd and MP salary. Now we'll look at the MP and the member of the Senedd. So the member of the Senedd gets 67,649 a year. An MP salary is 84,144. Now remember, they represent double the people that a member of the Senedd does. in theory, when you break it down on average they represent double. But yet there's only a 17,000 difference, less than £17,000 difference between the salaries. The salaries are only going to go up. I know this doesn't include expenses or anything like that. It's ridiculous the amount of money that's been wasted. So increasing the number of the Senedd is only going to decrease their workload from a representation of 52,000 to 32,000. You're creating less work for yourself as a member of the Senedd, but you're wasting more of our money. So it's up. I think it should be up to the people of Wales to decide. What do you want? What do you think is the best idea? What is the best voting system? Because there's so many voting systems. I'm going to bring up the definition of a difference between an open versus closed list of proportional representation. And I'm going to read through that. In terms of democratic legitimacy, open lists clearly trump closed lists, a system where voters have a choice over which individuals get to become MPs or MSs in this case, is undeniably more democratic than a system in which who is elected is determined by their placement on a list created by a party leadership or self-selected party memberships. There will always be a concern that closed lists can be used vindictively to make it harder for internal opponents to get elected, regardless of any personal popularity. But defenders of closed lists argue that they are simply more practical, claiming that many voters only really care about parties. That is crap. Bridgend is a prime example of that. The increase of support for independence over the last 5-6 years has been exponential. We got more independence in the BC chambers. So arguing that people only want to vote for parties is absolute bullshit. And I'll say bullshit on here, YouTube, yeah, you can thing. But yeah, people don't want to vote for party. People want to vote for who they feel better represent them, whether that's part of the party or whether that. Yes, I will not deny. I'm not naive enough to say people don't vote for parties because that's all they've done. That's all their families have done. That's still around, and it's ridiculous. Look at the Conservatives and Labour now. If your granddad or grandparents 60, 70, 50, even 40 years ago, look at Labour Party, look at Conservative Party and say, oh, they're the same of what we have then, they wouldn't. If you're saying it's the same now as what we have then, it's not. Labour have gone from a working class, help the working class, fight for the working class or the underprivileged parts of society, to being an elitist party, where they're looking out for themselves and they're looking out for the people they like. It's nothing to do with the working class anymore. They have the unions. They fight for unions because unions still paying a lot of the money they get. They're very big donors, so they're going to fight for them, regardless. It's crazy. Anyway, you've got the list there. You can read it. I didn't want to make this video too long, but I can get stuck on this subject. Please voice your opinions, not just to your MSs or MPs or that. Do it to your county borough councillors. Let's get the council somehow railing against this, putting open letters saying this is a bad thing, because eventually that's what's going to happen in councils. They're going to say, this is the Senate's going to say, oh, this has been a big success where we've got stability with one party carrying on and having the majority for a long time, rather than a fluctuating majority where it's close, where they need to bring other parties in. Let's do this to at local level. At local, I thought I should share the screen there. Sorry, I didn't share the screen. Sorry. I'll share the screen now. I thought I shared it. There we go. There's the share. it's I think this explains everything about its electoral reform society. There's so much information on there about voting systems and how things are done. You've got what's better. So look, take a look at there and decide for yourself whether the system that's being proposed in the Senedd now is the best system for you, not for Wales, for you. Do you feel that best represents you? But if you want your say, and do you think the Senedd should listen to the people of Wales, not themselves, not what their party leadership want, please contact your Senedd member, share this video widely if you can, if you want to, or just speak up to your local council, to your local borough councillor, whatever party they are. This, personally, I think this is a bad system, having a closed system where you're voting for parties and not people. Because parties have agendas, people are going to be more concerned with what's going to be in their constituency. So I'd like to say thank you. I'm going to end the video there. I didn't want it to be this long, but have a good day, everybody, and I'm hoping to get some more videos going soon. We'll see how things go.